gentlemen. Thank you. In the following presentation, I would like to give a synthesis on the most important elements of family policy measures of the Central European countries. The basic of this presentation are those country reports, which are contributed by my dear colleagues of the Professors Network, you dear colleagues. Firstly, I would like to provide a short overview on the structure of my presentation. First of all, I will talk about the institutional and legal background of family policy of the Central European countries. Then I will outline the bunches of family policy measures as a kind of classification. After that, showing some summary tables and classification on the topics of tax and contribution benefits, classification of home creation programs and the concrete measures of them, the work-life balance and generational policy. As a first momentum of the family policy measures, we have to outline the institutional framework and legal background of demographic issues. As for the institutional background, it is also a common element that the measures of demographic issues are primarily provided by a ministry or ministries. But in several countries, there are special organizations which are dealing with the research and social aspects of demography, such as, for example, the Expert Committee for Family Policy or the Maria Kopp Institute in Hungary. As for the legal background, it can be seen that beside the laws of the highest orders as constitutions, the civil codes, family protection acts, and family acts also contain some substantive legal regulations which have effect on demographic aspects. That is the reason why every country report of the upcoming volume focuses not only the family policy, but on substantive family law regulations also. Furthermore, the labor codes, tax code, and other sectoral legislations contains regulations which can have effect on childbearing and family protection. It can also be observed that the Central European countries prepare their own policies, strategies for addressing demographic challenges. The main common points of this document are that every strategy approaches the subject from the viewpoint of the massive social, demographic, and economic change, which we can see in our leads. The following minutes are focused on the systematic review of the family policy measures that have emerged in Central European countries in recent years to address the demographic problems. The most effective way to compare and synthesize family policy measures is to group them. According to this methodology, the following family policy measures can be mentioned as main groups: family support benefits, tax and contribution benefits, home creation, family and work allowances, generational policy, family-friendly provisions and in the pension system, and finally, social security institutions supporting families. It shall be emphasized that all of the mentioned measures are essential elements of family support. The main contributors to this increase in the birth rate are the certain tax and contribution benefits, home creation measures, family and work allowance institutions, and certain elements of generational policy. For this reason, I highlight the comparative analysis of these measures. Basically, most Central European countries are trying to encourage childbearing from the point of view of taxation also. However, different solutions can be observed. For example, in Poland, the reform of the tax law, which includes childbearing benefits, can be observed through the Family 500 Plus program. However, it shall be highlighted that the public law embeddedness of tax rules and their close link to finance, the provisions governing taxes change relatively frequently. The Czech system makes explicit reference to the consequences of this trend. The frequent changes in legislation make this area non-transparent which, apart from the legal uncertainty it can create, is actually a problem for families, even if the Czech tax law also acknowledges the system of family tax allowances. The personal child tax allowance in the Croatian income tax system is a benefit under which the tax base of taxpayers with dependent children is reduced. The amount of the child tax allowance increases gradually for each additional child. In Slovenia, the so-called child tax allowance is granted to parents for each dependent child up to the age of 18 and for children up to the age of 26 who are in continuous education. In Slovenia, there is a unique solution regarding the facilitating of travel-related costs. Motor vehicle tax is not payable on vehicles purchased for the transport of families with 3 or more children. There are also some special provisions in Serbian law also for tax and pension policy, for family benefits, minors and persons with disabilities in order to make their lives easier. The so-called tax bonus system is applied in Slovakia, which can help families. It encompasses that employees have the right to claim a tax bonus for each dependent child in their household. In the Romanian system, all children and young people between the age of 18 and 26 years will be exempted from health insurance contributions. From 2020, the Hungarian mothers with 4 or more children benefit from a full personal income tax exemption under the Family Action Plan. Beside the tax exemption of the above-mentioned mothers, the reinstatement of family taxation, family-friendly taxation, shall also be mentioned. It means that large families should be taxed less than families with fewer children or without children on the same income. It shall also be mentioned that the tax allowance for first-time married couples is a benefit for newlywed for 2 years. Creating a family home is a key to ensuring that couples who want to have children feel safe and secure for themselves and their future children. In line with the country reports, solutions can be divided into 3 main groups according to their attitudes and features towards the importance of home creation and home ownership. The first group includes countries where the specific status of the family home is emphasized by private law rules, but where there is no explicit demographic-oriented home creation program. In the second group, we can classify those solutions where we can find public instruments to promote home creation, but these are mostly followed by collateral subsidies, as, for example, the preferential interest rates of loans and credits or tax allowances. And the third group is a collection of countries where couples are entitled to access to state subsidies, loans, and direct state support for having a new home, so where special home creation programs per specific financial supports are available. As I have mentioned during the former slide, regarding the importance of family home, some countries have special home creation programs per specific financial support, such as Hungary, Slovenia, or Croatia. The solution in Croatia is complex, where there is an exemption from real estate tax for the first housing, and there is a proper housing care program. The housing loan subsidy is a housing care scheme under which the state contributes to the repayment of a part of housing loan. The support period is extended by 2 years for each child born during the support period. Slovenia also has a separate policy regarding home creation. It also targets a broad range of beneficiaries, as it is available for young people, young families and single-parent families, large families and single-person households over 65 years of age, persons with disabilities, and persons in complex social situations. It also contains incorporate renovation and buying a new home and long-term loans with favorable interest rate. In Hungary, the system of home creation subsidies, known collectively as CSOK, Family Home Creation Subsidy, has been reformed in the recent years, which was started in 2014. In this context, the specific demographic objective of the CSOK is to increase the propensity to have children. Since 2016, the support scheme has been significantly expanded. The amount could be up to 26,000 euros if the pair has 3 or more children, or if they are planning to have 3 or more children, and if they are building or buying a new home. An essential element of the CSOK is that it's actually a loan for up to 2 children. Once the couple has a third child, the CSOK is considered a free state subsidy. Work-life balance is of particular importance for having children and starting a family. However, the way in which countries approach the work-life balance requirements varies. As far as the work-life balance is considered, the following are typical elements of national legislation: parental leave, leave for the birth of a child, flexible working hours, and part-time work. In general, it can be ascertained that all countries provide parental leave for parents. The provision of flexible working hours and part-time employment is more likely to have a demographic impact and increase the propensity to have children. Therefore, these institutions are in the focus of the followings. The Polish Demographic Strategy 2040 emphasizes the need for changes in labor law with special regard to more flexible working, which can ensure and promote the stability of parental employment. According to the Romanian Labor Code, flexible working time includes work from home, flexible schedules, individual schedules, and part-time employment. In Croatia, employed and self-employed parents are entitled to maternity leave, parental leave, part-time work, breaks for breastfeeding, leave for employees who are pregnant. According to the Slovenian legal system, the parents who have a child up to the age of 3 has the right to work as a part-time employee rather than a full-time worker. Nevertheless, the Slovenian report refers to the fact that women are mainly employed full-time. The Hungarian Family Action Plan also supports family-friendly jobs. With the introduction of the so-called Gyed Extra in 2014, it's now possible for mothers to work full-time while receiving benefits even from the age of 6 months. And there are also examples, as in Serbia, where flexible working hours and actual employee benefits, which are linked to parental status, are provided by individual companies based on their own internal rules. The Slovak report refers to the date that Slovakia ranks last in the use of part-time employment among OECD countries. This tendency can be traced back to the lack of real opportunities for part-time employment after parental leave. The system of family relationships and the strength of these relationships, of course, has an impact on how older people are treated in a given society. Therefore, of course, the well-being and care of the more vulnerable members of the family, especially children and the elderly, depends to a large extent on the relationship between the members of the family. There are also examples of countries in Central Europe where family and intergenerational solidarity plays an important role. This tendency can be observed, for example, in Croatia or in Serbia, where the young people are a priority for the society, and both the Croatian and the Serbian systems have policies and action plans for intergenerational purposes. The strategic framework of Slovakia also emphasizes the importance of intergenerational solidarity, which is able to protect all family members from poverty. In the following, we can see that countries can be distinguished on the basis of the instruments they use to support and privilege older people and/or young people. Some countries use public law rules, policies, and strategies to give priority to these groups, while others prefer to use private law instruments. The relevant parts of the country reports basically show that generational policy focuses on providing specific tax benefits for the elderly and cultural and educational services for young people. However, the measures of the generational policy can be varied. As part of the generational policy, the Slovenian state offers services to healthcare for the elderly by the assistance of living facilities. The Romanian government has adopted an act to ensure equal opportunities for young people. According to the law, young people will benefit mainly from more favorable conditions for starting a business and easier access to cultural services, for example, free access to libraries. One of the elements of the generational policy of Hungary is the introduction of the grandmother's pension, known as the Woman 40, which allows women to retire with a full pension without reduction after 40 years of work, regardless of their age. Furthermore, it is also possible for grandmothers to have unlimited gainful employment in addition to their pension. In the Polish law, elderly can be protected mainly by some contracts which carry economic weight and ensure economic stability for the elderly people, which contracts can contribute to prolonging the lives of the elderly and ensuring decent living conditions. This basically shows that the support of elderly is left to private law, family law, contract law, and to the autonomous application of legal instruments rather than to public law measures. As a general conclusion of the presentation, it can be established that in all the Central European countries which were studied, there are family policy measures aimed at encouraging childbearing. If you look at the data on the slide, it can be seen that there has been an increase in fertility rates in the countries over the last decade, even if this growth is not everywhere dramatic. All the above-mentioned elements suggest that it is worth using family policies to encourage childbearing. Several of the Central European countries have strong family policies. However, we should all be aware that the number of childbirths doesn't depend on family policies alone. In recent years, we have witnessed such negative events that have affected the incentives to childbearing. So we can say that geopolitics also play an important role in increasing the propensity to have children. So perhaps we can say that if the sad events of recent years, such as the COVID epidemic, the Russian-Ukrainian war, and the resulting energy and financial crisis had not taken place, the positive effects of family policies would have been much more visible. The sense of insecurity created by these sad events and their impact on the energy crisis, the economic crisis, the existential and psychological effects cannot be underestimated. Family policy measures are still necessary. Where there are no real family policies, the demographic winter will be much longer and colder. It shall also be seen that the effects are not really visible yet, but they can be expected in the future. As the geopolitical situation improves, we can hope for an increase in the number of babies, also and the demographic winter hopefully turn to spring. Thank you very much.